All right. COVID. Here we come.
Good old
I
COVID,
good,
which is
good old
gone.
COVID.
Obviously, every week we just want to remind people COVID's over. We're post COVID.
Tell us about Long COVID Awareness Day.
Yeah, so Long COVID Awareness Day was the 15th, and it should have been a day to get massive attention around long COVID because you have so many people. People don't think it's even real. You know, the public is so uninformed on long COVID at this point. So, of course, people got together, protested, rallies, went to DC. The idea was to get a lot of press around long COVID. And how it turned out is that the media denied its existence largely. And a friend of the show, Julia Doubleday, writes every week. She writes an article
Yeah,
on
she's
COVID.
great. So
She's
well
phenomenal.
sourced, like links to all the studies and everything. Yeah. Um, Long COVID is a thorn in the side of back to normal. Attempts to silence patients are intensifying because, again, the whole rejoinder now is, well, it's like the flu, even though you get it 3 times a year. And, but, people are sick all the time, but it's not a big deal anymore. And people aren't dying mostly. I mean, still like 1,500
Right.
people are dying every week, but apparently we've been told not to care about them. First, they were the unvaccinated. Then they were the people who were immunocompromised, a little old. Fauci said that a lot of people would just, fall by the wayside, unfortunately. But for those of us who remain, there is the threat of long COVID.
And so, what the media did, and this is not coincidence, they planted two large articles on Long COVID Day, Long COVID Awareness Day, so that people searching Google would come up with these two articles the most.
So
One of
gross.
them was COVID made us all a little insane. A grudging acknowledgement that public health officials got some things wrong would benefit us in the long run. So, the implication being that we shouldn't have locked down, probably.
Yeah.
Masks aren't as effective as we thought.
Masks don't work.
Learning
There was
loss.
already that
All these things are
concrete. Yeah.
false.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the other story with The Guardian, of all places, which is generally a respected news source.
Time to stop using the term long COVID as symptoms no worse than those after the flu, Queensland Chief Health Officer says. I mean, that is just a lie. Like, we know that they are now seeing that it affects your brain. You lose IQ points every time you get COVID. It affects people's hearts. It is a vascular disease and it affects every single organ. And the fact that they are trying to sweep this under the rug when people, especially working class people, are seeing the reality of how this is affecting their coworkers, themselves. I mean, right now, the only people pretty much that I ever see masked are people working at shops or restaurants that I go into. And that's it.
100%.
And then, I mean, not even
and so,
many. Yeah.
look, this article, this scientific study, first off, it was debunked already. And it's a peer review study based on patient submissions themselves. It is not at any level a scientific study that proves that long COVID is equivalent to the flu. But most people
Yep.
aren't even going to read the actual article. So the headline does most of the heavy lifting
And they
here.
know that for sure. Yeah.
But it was debunked right away. So, of course, you get all the usual suspects coming out against it, claiming as fact that this study here proves beyond a reasonable doubt that long COVID doesn't exist.
He's just the worst. I mean, he just lies for a living. That's all.
Right. And just so you know, this is Kevin Bass, PhD MS, which is strange because he just got kicked out of med school about a month ago.
Yeah,
So-
they I can't remember, was he at Stanford? No, he wasn't at Stanford because they love their COVID minimizers. They have and
Yeah, I don't know what school he was in. I forget.
but yeah, he
But
was let go.
but what we do know now is that he is now working at the Brownstone Institute.
That is the common denominator.
And I don't know if we want to read all this, but where's that meme that says I ain't gonna read all that?
Good for
'Cause
you. That yeah.
And this was an article written, I think maybe 3 months ago or something like
Is
that.
this Walker Bragman,
It was
right?
Walker Bragman did a report on who's funding the Brownstone Institute. The
Right.
Brownstone Institute, bottom line, it is that they were behind the Great Barrington Declaration. This
Yep.
whole idea of, hey, everybody get back to work, and
It
they
doesn't really
acted,
affect kids.
yeah, and then, so they acted like they put themselves out there as if they were some sort of scientific community speaking on behalf of COVID. It's one of these letter things. It might as well have been a Google form. It's the same idea of
Yeah.
just creating some fake consensus that, oh my God, we all agree. Look at all this proof that COVID's not real. Long COVID doesn't exist. Yada yada.
It's all in your head. Like
Right.
Vinay Prasad. Yeah. It's I know we've talked about this so many times, but obviously we see really successful, wealthy, privileged people getting COVID repeatedly. The level, it's like, I don't know, the cognitive dissonance, like for a while, I thought, with like climate change, that billionaires were just deluding themselves, that they'd go into their billionaire bunkers and they'd be safe. And then you start realizing, they build their own submarine and cut corners and go into that
Right.
submarine and blow themselves up. Like, and then, we read at the beginning that it does something to people's brains, COVID, where it actually makes them lower their fear or desire to protect themselves from future.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like some alien shit,
it,
honestly.
it really attaches to your brain and it changes your cognitive abilities.
It's very strange.
It's really strange, but like one person, actually, Bruce Springsteen is another one. He has long COVID. Well, anyway, there's just, it is just,
Yeah, but back to the brownstone
yeah,
real quick. Because you brought up, I don't know, climate or whatever. But who funds them, which was revealing with Walter Bragman's article.
right.
It's the exact same people pushing
Yep.
all the right wing propaganda
Yep.
about anti climate change. Climate change isn't real.
Yep.
Big Tobacco is one of the biggest funders.
Yep.
Big Tobacco is funding this anti COVID stuff.
Yeah.
Climate change. There was another big group. I forget. I don't want to read all that stuff in the graphic. But,
Yeah. But yeah, it is basically a way of destroying trust in institutions by creating chaos. A lot of, another common thread with all of these people is they're really into charter schools, very much anti-teacher unions. It is a way to destroy
kind of like a
public
think tank
institutions.
for capitalism.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how do we keep people going to work? It's
You do you.
yeah, when it comes to the charter schools, it's because they got money from charter schools, so they're going to push this narrative. Like whoever gives them money, they're going to push the narrative. But who's always going to give them money? All the corporate capitalists that want you to work and die without health care protections. Just work as much as you can.
Yep. Yep.
Child labor, 50-hour work weeks.
God, and they just keep making new laws state by state. Yeah, Peter Thiel is definitely behind some of that, I think. Yeah, absolutely. All right, what else do we have on COVID?
This is a study that's interesting. This is actually a big study,
Yeah.
unlike this little peer
Yeah.
thing where you sign a form online.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead and read it if you want.
Increased infection risks after COVID-19 infections, dramatically higher risk of other infections after COVID infections, consistent with many studies showing, please, immune system deterioration.
Yeah,
Every time you get COVID, you are dysregulating your immune system.
And so look, the numbers show this multiplier effect.
Good luck, everybody. Can you read that? That's a good graphic.
But the one they were talking about is 4 times viral infections from people post-COVID. But on the bottom there, how do you pronounce that word, Lila? You corrected me.
Oh, the sequelae. Sequelae of infectious disease conditions. So
14,
basically like the fallout. Yeah.
14 times as much of those, whatever that means, conditions right there.
Yeah.
But this is the point of like, hey, just because you survived COVID doesn't mean we should all give it to people. On average, people are getting it 3 times a year.
And kids are getting it over and over.
Often, Right.
And then
So,
it's RSV, and then it's measles, and then it's a stomach bug, and then it's just, I bet everybody
right.
just says it's just allergies.
But on
This, but
that
yeah,
level alone, COVID and the flu aren't the same in that people don't get the flu 1.4 times a year.
no,
People
yeah,
get the
like
flu four
3 times
times
a
as
decade.
less
Yeah,
often as COVID.
yeah, and it doesn't have these lasting effects. I mean, yes, there some people, unfortunately, it's horrible. Some people do die because of the flu, but most people don't. And then once it's gone, once you recover, it's gone. And this, so now that I have my readers on, respiratory infections in children are multiplied 1.4 times, or is it 140? Yeah, that's really
No,
small.
it's just 1.4.
1.4. Oh, I
But
was
that's
hoping it was 140.
but
That would
that's
have really made my
these are
point.
all significant numbers.
Yeah,
Like it is the
yeah,
when they connect this eventually to cancer rates,
yeah, yep,
it's going to be such a crime that we let this go.
yeah. I'm pretty sad for my kids and their friends and all of our kids, because you know
Yeah.
it's going to be a lifetime of having to deal with this. And I don't, who knows if we'll ever have a cure or remedies or actual healthcare system, because at this point the healthcare system is collapsing in one country after another. I mean, we are certainly one of the worst in the developed nations, but yeah.
There is some good news. I just want to put this out
Yeah,
there. There is proof that you're getting some protection from the vaccine
right.
from some of the effects of long COVID.
COVID
Doesn't mean it's not
vaccination.
preventing
Yeah.
long COVID, but the data does show it helps a lot of people. So
Yeah, we just I forced my older son on his this is it's his spring break, and they're game after game, double headers, triple headers, but I found, excuse me, a CVS that had Novavax and forced him to get his booster shot of Novavax,
excellent.
which is supposed to have the best efficacy for the longest. Um, this was fun, and this is not, so far there's been no real study, no definite correlation, but I just thought it was fun because Jaws is my all-time favorite movie. Dr. Sean Mullen writes, "What have I learned this morning? People who watch Jaws too early in life may have a heightened awareness of COVID. Who would have thought it'd prepare us for a real invisible predator?" I saw it
This
when I was 8, so that explains
Yeah,
it.
the strange thing about that is I went to Universal Studios when I was a little kid, and they have a ride there where you're on a fake boat. It's a train going
Yeah.
across the water, and they put the music on, dun 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 dun, whatever it is, and then the whole boat tips over, and I almost fell in the boat in the water, and I wasn't really scared of the shark per se. I was just like
Right.
I almost went in the water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But so that, hey, here I am still like believing in COVID like a crazy person.
You're right.
So maybe there's some correlation to that
There,
story.
there might be. Although, of course, I told my son, who had, he's a psych major, and he had just done this stats class, and he was like, that maybe it's just like people who watch that movie who are all boomers like you. I'm like, I'm not a boomer, but like it could just be any movie that came out in 75 or 77. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And
Yeah.
in the COVID deniers' defense, I might not be that smart because at that same Universal Studios trip I went on, we had the chance to see the Blues Brothers
Yeah.
perform live, and I was like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. It's not my thing.
So I could have seen the Blues Brothers, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd as Blues Brothers singing blues, which I came to love, and I talked my family out of it. So
Why would they listen to you?
yeah.